Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Austin. I'm a Skid Row bum alcoholic. Thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, during this talk, you're going to hear me. You might hear that a few times. It's because of a problem with my throat, and I won't explain the rest of it. I just want you to know that so that you know where I'm coming from, see. Man, what a warm group. There's nothing like walking into an AA meeting where you welcome so warmly. But see, this is the last stop for a guy like me. And if I come in a place like this, coldly invited, not made to feel part of, especially a new person, trembling, shaking, I might not come back. And this is the last stop. I always say thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because if it wasn't from AA, I would be dust now, no. But you know, I always like to kind of start off with some things that kind of loosen me up a little bit. You know, our program tells us when we come here and we get into the process of recovery, a lot of us will return to the faith of our choice in the book. And you know, there's other people that had faiths way before we got here. You know, the people we used to laugh at, the do-gooders, people with the cloths. Yeah, they always did have faith. They got their stuff from another book. I heard people say it was the big book. We got the big book. They got theirs from the big book. And this lady would go to church, and in the big book, she would pick out a personal book. You know, we go with the preamble. I see your slogans on the wall. And usually what happens, we usually incorporate one of those. You know, the preamble, you know, we get into a jam with, you know, we want to do the preamble or slogan. Look, first things first, think something. Well, this lady, the book that she was in, she liked the book Acts. A-C-T-S, Acts. Y'all heard of Acts in the big book. Acts was the book. The chapter was 2. And the verse was 38. And she would go around all the time, just like we do. Look, God granted me the serenity to accept it. She'd go around all the time, Acts 2:38. Acts 2:38. We just walked through the house that way. One day a guy came in to rob her, and she just went into a thing because it's imprinted. Acts 2:38, she was running to Acts 2:38, and the guy hit the deck. Spread it out. Hit the deck. She called the police. Police come over, says, what's going on? She said, I almost got robbed. Said, he was trying to rob me. They said, well, looked like you got him stretched out there. How'd you do that? She said, I was just going through the house, all in Acts 2:38, Acts 2:38. So they went over there and said, hey, buddy, say, you mean to tell me she was just quoting the Bible and you give up just like that? He said, that's what she was doing. That's what she was doing, said. I thought she said she had an Acts in 2:38. Surrender, give up. Throw in the towel. I lost, but I won. Stop fighting. He who travels the wrong road will make the journey twice. Throw in the towel. Welcome to y'all's own home group. I see so many young people in here. I remember I was young too one time. I got a birthday coming up soon, and I ain't gonna tell y'all how old I am, but I was born 1937, April 12th. So I've seen many moons, you know. But anyway, it's so good to be here. Lonnie, thank you for asking me to come down to be with y'all. And I know if it wasn't for people just like you, I could be nothing. Thank you for letting me connect to you so that I could continue the one day at a time process that I've been on since June 8th, 1972. I'm a Skid Row bum. I didn't come here because I had a few beers. No, I'm not that kind of drunk. And I drank 27 years. In the last 4 years of my drinking, I was on Skid Row. Some of y'all heard of Skid Row. You've seen it. 5 barrels. Eating out of garbage cans. Stinking. It tickled me today when I hear somebody in AA say, when I got here, I hadn't had a bath in 2 weeks. I said, man, they must smell pretty good. When I got here, you could smell me way over yonder. Especially if it was raining. That stuff had got mixed up with some water some kind of way. I sure didn't take no baths. I either had to rain on me or something else happened. It wasn't going to get no water. One guy told me around the 5 barrel one time, he said, something? Says, I know we stink, said, but you know what? Says, water will rust iron. Did you know that? I said, it will. She did. Said, and it sank battleships too. You know that? Yeah. And put out fires. It was right down my line. So, I was born in Carthage, North Carolina, right across from Phillips Motor Company on that side. They used to call that place Shady Grove over there. And I was born back in there, back in 37. And my mother said I was something about 11 pounds, I guess, and weighed in at 4 o'clock on that evening, the 12th of April, and went to sleep and told me I slept for 7 days. And there was word, and back in that day, we didn't have hospitals and doctors, had midwives and stuff. It was 12 of us, and we were all born at home. And by me being, just being born and going back to sleep, they thought I was in some kind of coma or some kind of, I don't know. And my grandmother told us, said, leave that boy alone. He's getting his business right. And I guess I was getting my business right. But one thing that I could do, I came on singing pretty early, pretty young. And that was a thing that would follow me for a long time. But one of the things that bothered me so much was having to go to church every Sunday. And when I go to church, they always seem to single me out. My mother would carry me all the time with her. The rest of them didn't have to go. She carried me. And I'd go in, I was always smile. You know that smile. Stomach, man, felt like I had a ball in there. Heart was jumping. There was a vein sitting inside my head about the size of a pencil. The pressures was on. And I was sweating. They'd ask me, you all right, Paul? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine. And, they used to have old mourners benches back in those days. When people get down and get prayed for and jump up and holler, they didn't have to come back. Pride, ego and pride, even back here. I didn't know what it was until I got to you. But pride wouldn't let me jump up and wouldn't let me cry either. I wouldn't let them see me crying because, they might think something wrong. And then the preacher, they used to sprinkle us, call it baptism. Then the preacher would put oil on our face up here and shake. It's supposed to be shaking the demons out, I guess. And the fears was overwhelming. Because, see, there's a thing about projected imaginations. And I was already full of fear imagining next Sunday. It's a week off. But I got to come back through the same mess again. Scared to death, look. Sweating. My father was a bootlegger. Good one, too. Sold good moonshine. Made moonshine, and I was one of the runners back here. And see, on Sundays, I go to church with my mother. Wednesdays, whenever they had church, I go there and was scared to death. On Friday nights, the guys would come to my daddy's house to buy the booze, the corn liquor. And they take the ball mason jars. Y'all don't know about that stuff. Take the ball mason jars, look. Turn it up, look easy like this. Don't shake it, because the beads is too big. Little small beads. Pick. When they break, they say, man, that's good stuff. And they would smack their mouth and light one of them Prince out of the back of cigarettes that they rolled up. And turn it up and frown when they turn it up. After talking about how good it was, and spit. And then they start rolling dice. And after a while, somebody would take their foot and catch the dice. All of them had pocket knives in their pocket. And somebody was going to get cut. And voices would raise. And I was standing there. I say that to say this. Young like this, there had been nothing developed in me in order to start managing my life. So what happened is I usually pick up on what I see and what I hear. I went to church, I saw that. It scared me to death. Friday nights, I know that was coming. It scared me to death. And this was my foundation, I guess. Now, we were loved. We were loved. We fed good, you know, and ate a lot of beans and fat back and stuff, so I was strong, big and strong. But I was scared to death. Had no directions for life. How will I live? When I was 8 years old, I had my first drunk, you know. Corn liquor. So we would hide that stuff in the woods, in them stump holes, you know, with the trees that put it down in there. My daddy would tell me, son, go get a quart for so-and-so. Go get half a gallon for something. And I'd go get it. And when I pull it out that stump hole, I crack that lid, take me a little swig and tighten it back up and bring it back out. Come out smiling. I was so happy to be. That was a good job. Kind of hated it, you know. But this was kind of like preparing me for where I would be going. Like I said before, I could sing in school. You already know I didn't major in English, but I did pretty good in agriculture. I was a livestock judge. I was a quartet singer, and once a year, just once a year, 1 week out of a year, we would go to A&T College to participate in agriculture events. And I was involved in livestock judging. I was also involved in quartet singing. And the livestock judging, I think it was 200 boys in 17 Beverly groups. I was in second place, and you know something that bothered me? You know how the drunk is. You ever read Bill Wilson's story? Number one. He was number one all the way down the line. Being in second place bothered me a whole lot. But singing in the quartet, it was usually 14 groups there each year, and we would go through a process of elimination. And when that process was over, the group that I sang in, the NFA Quartet, New Farmers of America, we were standing on stage with the last group. It was just two. And we won that contest 3 years straight. Went on for Ebony Magazine. And when we lost the fourth one, that bothered me. Really did, it bothered me. But I always had to have a drink after. I'd ask the guys, y'all want a drink? They said, no, Paul, we don't want a drink, do you? You want a... Yeah, I thought y'all wanted one, so I'd go get drunk and drive from Greensboro back to Carthage with the guys riding with me. This was kind of a pattern that would be laid for my life. A lot of things happened. Y'all know what growing up and drinking alcohol is about. I turned over some cars, stole some dogs, hunting dogs, almost went to jail. Sheriff Lambert almost locked me up for stealing somebody's hunting dog, and that watermelons, you know, things of that sort. And August 10th, 1957, up at that old courthouse in Carthage, North Carolina, I was married. 10:30 in the morning. Marriage cost $3. I've been married 59 years, y'all. August 10th passed. For $3, ain't bad, is it? And look, I'll tell her when we talk on the phone that y'all clap for her, because, I mean, I don't deserve that clap, not what I carry people through. But anyway, I got married, and you know, the funny thing about that thing, you know, when we were in school, she was one of the classmates, you know, and there was other guys around too, kind of looking at her. And I think drunks, we just kind of set our focus on something, and we go after it. No, look, that's mine. Look. And I'd sit in the classrooms, and I'd look at her, look. And then I look around, see where the guys was looking. If anybody looking, look. I turn that back. You see those cocky faces that we put on, look, like I'm tough and mean. That's just fear. That's all that is. Look, somebody gonna take something I got, or I ain't gonna get something I think I want. But I look at it and smile, and I'd steal gas from the buses because I was a bus driver too. I hope there ain't nobody here from the police department. But they know I was stealing because I'd have to go up to see her, see. And I go up to see her. And one night I went up there to see her. She told me that she was not going to be home that night. And I got kind of suspicious, I said, maybe I better go up and check on this. Get my roommate with me. And we went up there and she went to the movie with another guy. And I went to that movie and sat down right behind that other guy. And she was sitting there and that guy was sitting here. And I tried to tell her back out that seat he was in. Then I went on downstairs and stood down there. They were scared to come out the movie. Say, all kind of nuts, In other words, what I'm trying to tell you, everybody that looked at her, I kind of had a way of pushing them back, scaring them off. And I guess that's why we got married. Because one thing about it, I believe she believed that I was going to defend and protect her. And although I didn't like to kill her with this progression of alcoholism. But anyway, got married August 10th, 57. Had $5 bill. I had $2 left. Chipped in $2 with another guy. We went down Dowd Street, down at the bottom where they had some good corn liquor. My dad was dead now. And we chipped in, got a quart of moonshine. And I got drunk, and I stayed drunk 2 days. And the third day, I was on my way to New York. I went to New York in hopes and did to sing with a group, the Northern Airs, from Tarrytown, New York. They heard about me singing bass. Oh, I used to do bass. I ain't good at it now, but I used to do some bass. But anyway, I went up there, New York, had never made a solid relationship with nobody in Carthage. I mean, we would talk that old stuff. I'm talking about talking real talk. I didn't know about that. Went to New York and I joined these guys, and one day we decided, I don't know, you can tell when you're around a real sensitive person, real sensitive look. Scared to say anything because you might want to talk. So they said one day, do you drink? I said, sure I drink. Thought they never asked. I was getting thirsty, see. Went in one of those lounges. Y'all ever went in those famous lounges where the bar is long? You got brass buttons running all the way down the bar. You got those little turn seats you sit on with brass buttons around them. You just kind of turn. We lined up sitting there. Now, I heard when I was growing up, when they come over with that corn liquor, they tested the corn liquor, they throw some of it in the fire too. Blaze Up Blue was good stuff. I heard back then a man was a man according to the amount of booze he could, judged as a man according to the amount of booze he could drink and walk with it. But when I was 16 years old, I could drink a half pint and walk with it. And I thought I had arrived. A half a pint was my thing. But we was in that lounge where the people, sophisticated people, I guess they call themselves, up in New York and around, in the quartet that I'm going to sing with. We sat there and I heard these guys talking about screwdriver. Well, I learned after I got here that's vodka and orange juice. But in that bar, that sounded like one of those tools you turn screws with, screwdriver. Well, what was going on with me, I told you at the stomach, the ball in my stomach, and the chest jumping, and the sweating, and the veins standing up, and the grinning. And I'm sitting there looking. I said, that ain't gonna work for me, I know. But I wanted them to know that it was a man in the house. I really did. I wanted everybody to hear it, because, they're gonna be impressed when they heard from me. They had all kind of bottles back there, round, white ones, square ones, full, half empty. And I leaned over because I wanted everybody here. I says, I'd like to have a half a pint of that right there. And when I said that, everybody turned to look, and sweat just popped off, and my mouth got popped open. I couldn't get it closed. They didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I mean, you froze, fear. And bartender said Slim had never been called Slim before. Says, we don't sell half pints here, but we do sell singles and doubles. Now, if you were drunk like me, a single anything is not sufficient. Got to be double or nothing. So they had some little glasses like this and some like this, and I said, well, shoot me a few of those doubles. And they set up a few doubles, and I would pour them in. Everybody else was mixing theirs. They had cherries in there and lemons and lettuce leaves. Looked like a salad they were setting in. I turned mine on up and throw it down. I still want them to see me. By the time I throw in about 8 of them, I start talking. Well, you know what that does for a drunk? Shut down reasons. I got no more reasons to care what you think. The emotions, it's been anesthetized. Look, they tranquilized now. Look, I don't feel nothing. I got my things fixed now. And I'm talking. And they don't know how to stop me from talking. But you know what? I thank God himself, herself. I think God provided the way for us to stop when we first came, especially the alcoholic, because if I didn't pass out when I drank, I wouldn't stop drinking. I would not stop drinking. So you figure the drunk, look, a shy, inhibited, withdrawn, scared to death drunk. Give him a few drinks. And after a while, you doing all kinds of, hey, what? Look here, don't I know you? Come on over here, man. Now, that looked just like a stimulant, don't it? It's a depressant. Hits right back there, look. After I have a few, look, we go on out. I think purposely God designed that for the drunk, because if he didn't, I believe we drank ourselves to death. And this is the way it was. 5 years, I sang with that group. I had some jobs for a little while. I had one good job up there. I worked for RB&W, Russia, Berkshire and Ward, Nut and Boat Company. Made good money, spent it all. Blew everything. I just blew the bundle. The singing lasted 5 years. Now, do you realize what I've been talking about? Nothing but drinking so far. Do you realize what I've been talking about from the very beginning? I was hooked in the grips of a progressive fatal illness that was going to bring me to my knees. I had 3 brothers that died with what I'm talking to you about, 2 of them on the street. One in the hospital, the same hospital in Port Chester, New York, the place where they asked me to leave. He was eat up. The organs in his body was eat up. Liver, heart, pancreas, face swelled up. And he was 2 years younger than me. But you know something? I think God has another plan too. He's not going to let us all go that way. Even when it looked like we're going that way. No. I think plans is made sometime that way so that the people that try to run our lives and tell us what we should and what we shouldn't do and how we should live our lives, when they get so frustrated and take off, then God can work his miracle. And then they can see that we're not God. So we should not try to rearrange your life. If you want your life rearranged, come and ask us and we will help you if you ask. But I got no business interfering with your life and what you're doing unless you ask me for help. Now, I sang 5 years. 5 years the singing was over. My attitude had became erratic. I mean, terrible. My friends would see me coming and they'd start leaving because my behavior, my personality was flipping. I'd wake up in the morning, look, I was like this. And I remember I used to wake up in New York like this, and one of the guys said, Paul, you need a drink. And I said, no, I don't believe I need a drink. I think that's what, he said, no, man, you need a drink. Take a shot of this here. I turned that thing up and hit it down, and guess what? Man, I stretched out, look, no trembling. You know what I said? Man, thank you. Thank you. Well, what I had been using to try to think I was feeling good, now I was using it for medicine. You know something? My attitude and personality got so bad I started going to jail. Before I was asked to leave New York in 1965, I got my family. I got married, I told you, 57, right? September of 58, my first child was born. April 11th, 1965, I had 5 children, stair steps. And I'd already got them set out in the street twice, lying the stuff upside the road, nothing but some junk. You talking about humiliating, shame, and scared. Now, if I don't have a problem, seem like a situation like that would say, man, look, get that stuff up. But you know what? I'd have to head straight to the liquor store. I got to put some quiet in that stuff. And they did that twice. They were going to set me out the third time. I was on the welfare now. They was kind of helping me out in New York. I'd start going to jail. I jumped on one cop. That was my attitude now. I think that stuff that had been buried down in me so deep. When I take a drink and it releases those inhibitions, I would attack. And all people had to do was look at me funny, and why you looking at me like that? 6 months ago, you know, you said something to me 6 months ago, 25 years ago, you shouldn't have never. That was getting me in trouble, lashing out, go to jail. Well, in 1965, when my last child, who's 52 years old now, next month, April, my wife gave birth to him April 11, 1965. And we were living in an old place on the second floor in an apartment building, and they were going to set us out. She had hid $200 in the house to pay the rent because you know I was going to drink it up while she's in the hospital. You know what I did? I know they're going to set us out. I set that house afire up on the second floor and jumped out the window when the fire truck was near with no clothes on, so that they would think that it was a desperate situation, and I just made it so they would help me again, put me in place. We didn't have nothing in the house. Nothing. The pain of suffering already, and the progression is getting worse. My wife's sister and brother came up from Maryland, picked up my wife and children, my little baby this long, brought them out of New York down to Maryland. And they left me up there to prepare a place, you know, get a place for them to come back. And a month later, they asked me to leave New York. I left warrants up there, a couple. I came down to Maryland. I was down in Maryland 2 weeks and they locked me up. Because when I got there, I went to the house where they were keeping my family. And I wanted in. And they told me I couldn't come in. And I said, yes, I can too. Because my family in here. With an attitude like that, growing, getting worse, I went in. And cops came. And they carried me to jail in Maryland. The judge wanted to give me 10 years for what I had done, but he asked me to leave Maryland. I went in D.C., started drinking there with the tramps in the parks, and they started locking me up, carrying me to Alquan's workhouse for drunks down at Lorton, when they had Lorton Reformatory down there. I'd go down there 20 days, 30 days, skin clear up, eyes clear up, come back, get my crowd, go right back to my crowd. Say, Paul, where you been? I've been on vacation. Man, you need a drink, because my skin was looking better, eyes are looking better. You need a drink. They didn't want me looking better than they did. That's what it was. I'd take a drink, they carry me right back to jail. I wouldn't tell y'all, I'm not going to tell you how many times I was locked up in the last 12 years I drank. But I'm not a criminal. I'm a drunk and a nuisance. My personality is not one of those that sit down and smile and go to sleep. Mine was all, I'll tell you this, in the last 12 years, now I'd already been run out of Connecticut, Maryland, and New York. They chained me up in Carthage in 71 in that courthouse, made me sign my rights away from my hometown, a judge in Carthage. In the last 12 years I drank, I wasn't living down here either. I was locked up 12 times up Carthage. And everybody was always saying, move on. And that, man, I'm going to tell you something. I want to tear everything up. And then Skid Row came. I didn't drink for 2 years, 6 days, because a judge ordered me in D.C. not to drink because he's getting ready to give me 10 years. So I didn't drink. I was scared to death. Went to work, WMA Transit Bus Company. 6 months I was training supervisor. A little later than that, I was sightseeing. I'm telling you something else. You never met a dumb drunk in your life. We're some of the most brilliant people you ever seen, drunks. Sensitive, caring, brilliant, loving, if we ever get ourselves in gear. I took a drink 2 years after that judge had ordered me not to, and I went to Skid Row, and that was the 4 years that I spent on Skid Row in the woods, wherever I could sleep, jailed, detoxes. I got a date here and it had nothing to do with AA, but I was shot on June 10th, 1969, 7:30 in the evening by police. And he didn't shoot me in the back. He shot me in the front because I was trying to take his gun to shoot somebody else. I was just going to take it and shoot somebody, give him his gun back. Couldn't get it out the holster, though. He finally got it out the holster and throwed it right at me. And I got 13 pieces of his lead in me right now. He's dead. God reveals himself to us in the form of our needs. He didn't want me to go now. He really didn't. But they did take my intestines out, patch up 10 holes down them, 2 in my stomach, leave that bullet on my back. And they said take out everything out of him that he can live without while we got his guts on the table. His spleen and his appendix, take them out. He can live without that. You know something? God is good. I come out of that convalescence a few days at my wife's place and went right back to Skid Row. I had 4 5 barrels that I was around. 44 Dean Avenue where I got shot, Sheriff Road, Eastern Avenue, Jock's Liquor Store, Kenworth and Eastern, 5 barrel, K Street Northeast under the trestle, 5 barrel, because Farmer's Market was right across Florida Avenue, had those big green dumpsters over there where they couldn't sell some of the meats and the vegetables. And we would go over there, I'd have one leg broke or the other. As soon as I get one well, I break the other one. And they wouldn't put me in the dumpster because I couldn't get out of it. And you know, it got them trucks to pick that dump stuff, you know. That was the life. We had our pot on the fire with our old meats and vegetables in there, pick up a cup on the side of the street, like what you drink out. Look, stand around a 5 barrel. A guy who was a gospel singer. I met Ed Sullivan, wanted me on his TV show one time. I was at RCA recording company one time to record a record. I've been to Parlo Theater. I'm just saying, look, the talent, the gift that we have was squandered. And I'm standing around a 5 barrel now. The drunks look, shaking and trembling. What few teeth we had left then sound like Benny Goodman's drum player. Everybody standing around trying to tell everybody how not to get drunk. I'm glad I met you people. You know why? Because when I came here, you kept it simple. You said, if you don't take a drink, you can't get drunk. You know what they'll tell me around the 5 barrel? Say, look, you don't want to get drunk. Say, what you got to do is eat butter. Butter. Say, look, not a half a stick of margarine. Say, you got to eat a whole stick of margarine. Look, grease your belly up good so you won't get... Another one stand over and say, well, man, look, what I've been doing, look, you get an egg and chip it in the end and suck the yolk out, but you can't let the yellow break before it pass here, because if you do, it won't work. Look, just stand there. Brother, now this guy standing there looks sophisticated. Now, you know, we got one everywhere. I might be one myself. He's standing around, look. No, he said, don't worry about that stuff. He said, clams on the half shell. Said, that's what you need. He named off a lot of things that he claimed it would do. But look, I got news for you. It won't work. But the point is, what if I had money to buy butter and eggs and clams? If I'd had money to buy it, what do you think I'd bought? Eggs, butter, and clams. Wild Irish Rose. Around that 5 barrel, we was drinking 200% grain alcohol from DC General Hospital, where they operated on me, cutting it with orange juice. And some of the older guys around there who was 45 and 50, they was old guys. Take 35 cents and buy one of those 35-cent can of paint thinner. You know the little thing you hold? Paint thinner. Put it in a quart of water and stir it up. Look like skim milk. Call it smoke. And you drink some smoke, look. You won't get that good glow feeling now, but I tell you what, everything on you will stand up, boy. Stand up, you know. You ever think standing up, you didn't even know that you stand up. But none of that stuff worked. But you know something? The loneliness, the despair. God, boy, if I could get back to my wife and children. They were running and ducking me anywhere they could stay. They were being protected by family and police and all them folks. If I could get back to them, if I could just get in the corner under a table somewhere and lay there. Now, I'm supposed to be the father and the husband. If I could just get in there. No way. You ever heard of DTs? Two big dogs, a brown and a black one, this big, used to step out the wall. And they were nasty dogs, and it was always after me. And I would try to show them to other people, especially the drunks around me. And they couldn't see them, because only the person having DTs can see what it is, but it's real. And they would look for them and couldn't find them. But when they couldn't find them, you know what they did? They started looking at me funny. They said, boy, he's gone cuckoo now. But on June 8th, 1972, right up until now, I haven't had a drink. My sponsor told me, little Irish guy, he told me that God sent an angel. And that angel came to a pile of human wreckage and pulled me out. And I think he's ready to go another way now. And I'm sure at that time he had already ordered the archangel to record my name in the Lamb's Book of Records. And we ain't gonna let this one go that way. You know something? One thing about God, I believe, I don't know. I talk to him in prayer. You know, I learned how to pray too. Not the foxhole, not the emergency. Petitioning the heart. I believe that God chooses us to be examples for the rest of us. Some of us have had to go way down. Now that don't mean that my alcoholism is different from yours or anybody else. Alcoholism is alcoholism. Behavior and attitudes, personality is different. Different. I don't care if you come out the 5-star hotel off the top floor down to a meeting, and I come out the woods, we're looking for the same thing, hopefully. And you know what? Nobody would have me then. DC Detox, where they carried number the Skid Row bums, where they used to drag us in by the neck, puking, dragging us down. Y'all know something else too. You know alcoholism is good, but a practicing alcoholic, that's filthy. You know that? And you see the filthy part about it is alcoholic puke. That don't sound classy, does it? Puke. It sounds really filthy, nasty. Puke. Now the average person would regurgitate, throw up, upchuck, unswallow, but the alcoholic puke. They wouldn't let me in DC Detox. I had another foot broke twice. I jumped off a building trying to jump on the guy's head and missed it. Broke my foot twice. Didn't time it right. See? Drink a Wild Irish Rose, you know what it said? Jump. But it don't tell you when, see? And I jumped. When I could hit down here, he was down there. He looked back, wanted to know if I was all right. I jumped, yeah, I'm all right. And walked off and passed out and had to get the ambulance. I finally got to old DC Detox. That was God's plan again, because listen, none of you didn't come get me. Now, I'm not saying nothing bad about that. You didn't come get me. My family didn't come get me. Nobody came got me. God reveals himself to us in the form of our needs. He was there. Police got me and they carried me to DC Detox. They wouldn't take me. They say I sat outside for 14 hours. And the people inside, now, you know, look, I can't say I'm a compulsive guy. Impulsive, repulsive. I sat outside for 14 hours, they say. And they looked out the window after changing shifts, and said, you know something, something about him is different this time. And they let me come in. In the next 3 days, they were working out a solution to get me to St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Y'all ever heard of St. Elizabeth Hospital? Where they had John Hinckley, the guy that shot the president. But they had me on a general psychiatric unit where there was nothing but chronic brain damage alcoholics. And I was there for 21 months. And the first month I was there, they assigned 2 men to me to give me a bath. I weighed 149 pounds. I couldn't even take a bath because I couldn't stand up. My muscles wouldn't hold me. And I stayed there and I watched those people, just like me, talking to themselves, jumping up and down, hollering, man, and screaming, going to the cafeteria, sitting around the cafeteria, puking, oatmeal, grits, sliding all down, and I'm sitting there. This is the condition some of us have to go to in order to appreciate where we're at now. And I was there 21 months, and that's where I met my sponsor, a little Irish guy. I was going to kill him. He walked up to me and he put his finger in my chest. He told me I'd back up in the corner because I didn't want nobody behind me. He put his finger in my chest. He said, I'll be your sponsor because you ain't got sense to get one. And then he said, now that you my pigeon, I require 2 things. You don't drink, you do what I say. And he didn't tell me who he was. Didn't even mention me. He didn't ask me who I was either. And he turned around and left. That's all he did. If you got a sponsor that you got to debate with, I'm talking to sponsors now. You got a pigeon that you got to debate with, you better go on somewhere else. Our book says when we find somebody like us that don't want to see it our way, move on. Leave them alone because you might lose a good chance of being able to help that person at a later time. But anyway, I stayed at 21 months and come out, and my sponsor said, well, I want your head good and clear before we take the steps. Look, those spiritual too. He said, because you know where you've been. I said, yeah, I know where I've been. Do you know where I've been? I still had him on the hit list. Hadn't erased him yet. And when I had 3 years, we sat down with the steps. I sat 5 hours and didn't even go to the restroom. I guess fear had me choked up when I got 5 hours. I talked to that man about these steps, 4 and 5. And I talked to him about some things that I never told nobody else. And only God and me knows the clear meaning of all of my ugliness. See, I'm not going to come ranting to me. I run my mouth a lot. I'm not going to come running in here and telling you about, look, I don't know who I'm talking to. The book says, make sure when you choose the person, you better choose the right one. Might be better to meet God alone than to choose the wrong one. And what do I look like turning my life over to somebody that ain't doing too good with their own? So we sat down and my sponsor, we went over him. And I asked him a few times, I said, you hear what I said back there? He said, oh, you mean so-and-so? So I said, yeah. He said, you didn't invent that. And bust my ego again. I said, Lord, yeah, I've been walking around with all that stuff on my back thinking it was mine. He said, no, that ain't yours. He said, that's been here ever since man been on earth. I said, well, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm in the nut house thinking that that's why I'm here. But anyway, I worked it out. And when we finished the 5th step, he said, now listen, we have identified and isolated some things about you that's very important for you and God to work on now. We're entirely ready. He says, I can't do nothing with that. And if you having any problems with it, go back and look at 3. Didn't you say you made a decision back there? And this program 2 says, you know, that we agreed that we would go to any lengths for victory in this thing. And that's what we went through. My sponsor told me something else. He told me a lot. But he told me, said, if you come in here and you get sober in this program, one day, somebody's going to ask you to sit down and lead a closed meeting. You know, there's different meetings, you know. I think people got them messed up so much now you don't know where you're at. A closed meeting, an open speakers meeting, a step meeting, and a tradition meeting. That's what I was introduced to when I came. And when you were at a closed meeting and you sat down, somebody started telling you about, well, I started drinking in 19, so when I was 18, I had another. You might not be at a closed meeting. Just might not be the closed meeting. But he said if you come here and get sober, one day somebody might ask you to lead a meeting, closed meeting. Or they might ask you to talk from the podium, tell your story. Talk to them. He says, and if they do, when you stand up at that podium, you make sure you catch straight down the line. Don't alter the concepts for nothing or nobody. And when you do that, there's going to be those there that won't appreciate what you say. Keep it AA, catch straight down the line. Somebody's not going to appreciate what you say. He said, if they don't, you've done a good group. Good meeting. He said, you're going to be ridiculed. And you know something? Our motives will be misjudged. And adversity. We all know about adversity, though. Coming from everywhere all the time. Adversity. Man's life cannot be perfected without adversity. And adversity, as we understand adversity, will be the ladder that we must climb that ascend the ruins towards spiritual perfection. We'll come here and we'll get sober. Somebody's going to come up and say, look, I want to hand you a gift. They say it's free. I don't think it's free. I paid a price to get in. And I'll pay the hell of a price to stay here too. We're going to pass you a gift. This gift will be yours to keep. You know, if I give you a gift, that you do what you want to do with it. We're going to pass you a gift. It is a gift. We're going to pass you a gift, and it's yours to keep as long as you adhere to certain conditions. And if you fail to adhere to those conditions, nobody can take this gift from you. You will give it up. You will forfeit it. And you will return to the fire barrels, the garbage cans from which you came. And when you take that gift and place it in your hand, you will be the one who have been chosen now to find the lonely drunkard, the so-called outcast of all mankind. When you get that gift, make sure you go back now and first clean up the wreckage of the past. I got the gift. Well, I got to go back and start someplace. So I'm going to go back to them psychiatrists. Some of y'all had some money, I didn't. Go back to some of them psychiatrists that I paid that $90 for 50 minutes. And lied to them the whole 50 minutes. Go back to them, hey, doc, remember when I was coming over here to see you? Say, yes. Say, you remember you kept me 50 minutes all the time? Say, yes. Say, doc, I just come back to tell you, look, I was lying to you the whole time. You know what he say? I know you were lying. All the time I know you were lying. But you paid me, didn't you? $90. I wish I had some more like you. Refer them this way, like you. And now, we got to go back to a place where we really want to duck. Mothers and fathers and loved ones. The ones that have been tormented. The ones whose hearts and minds and emotions have been scarred because of what we dragged them through. And sometime in the night, way over in the wee hours of the morning, 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you hear a knock on the door sometime. And you see the look in the face. The expression in the face tell you something before they open their mouth. I'm sorry to tell you, but your loved one, your child, was just wrapped around a tree. Your child just went off a bridge with no mother and father want to hear that about their child. But I put my mother and father, my father was gone when my thing came down. I put my mother through a lot of stuff. She was the last one with her hands on me. And finally, you know what she said? I'm going to turn him over to God. I can't do nothing with him. And thank God she did. Because when she did, she took my dependent blocks from under me. You see? And when I leave mother and father, I'm going to the priest, the minister. Remember the one I told you about? I went to the church back here? Put that oil on me and sprinkle me with water and praying for me. I'll go back to him and say, Reverend, look, I came back to thank you for all of what you tried to do for me. And I know you tried hard too. You were working on my soul and you went right after it. Guess what? I felt it. You got that. But I met a group of people that understand me a lot better than that because they told me I had a threefold illness. Mental, spiritual, and physical. So you missed two parts. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, look, they told me, said, look, a day at a time, keep coming back, look, everything seemed to kind of come down together if you would stay. And now I would find that drunkard. Because I'm the one. When I say I'm the one, I'm talking about the drunks. We're the one that's been allocated to find that drunkard. Sometimes they're in a cave. When we walk by, we hear the grunts and the groans. We recognize them because we have been there. And when I crawl in the cave, the drunk will say, why did you come in here? All the rest of the people that passed me by, they told me I ought to get a job, go back home, I ought to stay out of jail. They told me all of the right things. Then they went on. But you crawled in this hole with me. Why are you crawling in? He said, because I was in that same hole one day myself. But when he crawled in, you know what he carried in with him? He carried in the solution. And that's what had been missing with folks like me. People always tried to carry me to church. They wanted to pray for me. They wanted to tell me what to do, what plate to eat out of, hold, or how to hold a fork. Don't eat no. But they never told me what the solution was until I came to you. Until I met that person who was properly armed with facts about himself, who had found the solution. If I can't get it there, I'm doomed. You know something, like I said before, drunks are not stupid. We're not dumb. We're some of the smartest people you ever seen. Some of us are educated. Some of us will find fortune. I'm talking about really, really fortunate. But you know, if we do, first of all, we should always know that no day is too long for us. No hour too late. And no demand on our time can be too urgent. And if we should find fortune, don't forget, the gift came from God himself. We lay no claims for personal superiority. Thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd be a dead man if I hadn't came here. My sponsor used to tell me about that broad-shouldered giant, the one that stepped out of the hills of Galilee and stepped down into the midst of people, a group of people just like you and I. And he came as a resurrector and performer. And he also came to perform miracles. And you know something? People just like you and I. Some of them was dead, some of them couldn't walk, some couldn't see, some couldn't hear, some had leprosy. There's a lot of stuff. We don't like to mention it a whole lot, but I think that's the same thing that happens to us, whether we want to mention it or not. I'm going to say this and I'll shut up. In our third tradition, it says the only requirement for AA membership is the desire to stop drinking. Is that what it said? Well, you know, when that tradition first came, you know, and this thing was hammered out too. This thing was not invented now. No, they worked hard to grill this thing in. This was created. They hit this in hard. There were several people who came in the third step because, you know, they had a lot of rules back then. I couldn't be a member of AA when AA first started because I'm black. Three strikes against me. I'm black, I'm a Skid Row bum, and I came out of a nut house. But they had to change them rules. They said they wasn't taking none in AA back in those days, but the so-called low-bottom drunk wasn't taking no women, y'all, none. And they tell me a little guy was in there hanging up coats one night when Bill Wilson and them came in. And they were looking at him, seemed to be so jovial, you know, was happy, wasn't shy, nobody, nothing. Hanging up coats. They want to know, well, who is that guy there? They said, well, he used to be a member of Al Capone. He did, yeah. Never heard nothing else about Al Capone. He was drunk, or at least he had a desire to stop drinking. Another guy come in there to tell me how to dress on. with some lipstick on, with some high heel shoes. And he met some of the folks at the door. And he said, I got a drinking problem. He said, can I be part of your group? They told him, no, man, you can't come in here. Look, you'll bring bad stuff on us. You know, people will think bad stuff about us. You looking like this. Bad reputation you'll give us. He said, but I have a drinking problem. And they went over to what would be the elderly statesman sitting over there. He didn't have much time, but he had more time than his little peers. They went over there with him and said, look, this guy wanted to be part of our group. We told him he would embarrass us. He said, but he got a drinking problem. And the man over there, tell me, he put his head down this way. And he raised his head up to them. He says, what would the master do? He became a member of AA. They never said nothing about his shoes, his lipstick, and the dress. That's his thing. Head somewhere else. Don't bring it here. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. They changed the rules. And then the last one was a guy by the name of Ed. Ed was a devout atheist. And he joined the group. And he was part of the group, the sharing. But when they say the Lord's Prayer, Ed was back way up in the corner. He didn't want no part of the Lord's Prayer with him. And they told Ed, said, look, if you don't pray with us, we're going to put you out this group. You know what he told him? No, you not. You can't put me out here. And he was right. They said, yes, we can. He said, no, you can't put me out here. Yes, we can. He said, did you mean what you said when you said the only requirements for AA membership was a desire to stop drinking? They said, yeah. He said, well, I have a desire to stop drinking. Just don't have no desire to pray with you. Well, they really sat in and started praying. You know what they're praying for now. Well, he went off on a trip, a business trip, Ed did. And don't remind you now, Ed is a devout atheist. Went off on the business trip and he got drunk. And he called back, told me, said, look, I got drunk and I need some money to get back home. They went back to the meeting and laughed, said, we got it. Our prayers have been answered, y'all. He's drunk and we ain't sending him nothing. And they didn't send him anything either. But he wandered around and he found himself in one of those hotels. And your hotel, you know that little stand on the side of the bed, got a Bible up there, usually have a Bible up there. When he fell out past that night, he fell out with his hand on the back of the Bible like this. And I guess that's where he slept, because when he woke up, they tell me, and history says that's where his hand was. And right then, the whole thing turned over. Atheism was gone. Now the lesson for that is this. Ed finally realized how desperate he needed the group. The group didn't need him. So if we in AA, let's keep it AA, y'all. Let's keep it AA. Let's don't muddy the water. Dr. Bob said in his last talk, he said, Bill, he was leaving here. He said, let's don't louse this thing up. Thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank y'all for asking me to be here.